Hey, it's Danny with Words Are Matter. Let's talk about old P communication strategies and new P communication strategies. It's so interesting because I had been studying and focusing on these particular old P, new P communication strategies when, as synchronicity would have it, as the beauty of the interconnected weave of life would have it, I manifested a perfectly exemplary experience to share with you guys. So what I had been playing with and have been playing with is the notion that old paradigm communication is when we're engaging a conversation and the goal is to be right, to win, and to make someone else wrong. And I've noticed this, I'm on the receiving end of this a lot, because when I put out content that challenges the dominant cultural narratives, very often I'm met with people who they don't want to actually engage a conversation wherein they would glean more information or understand more about my process or the references or facts to which I am pointing. They just want to make me wrong and to twist words and put words in my mouth. And it's this very weird, I don't want to say weird because it's not like I'm above it. It's not like I haven't done it. I've done it plenty of times. I'm in a constant conversation with myself around checking in to see whether or not I'm doing it. It's the ego, right? It's when the ego has grounded itself into a belief system or a belief structure that is threatened by the information that I'm sharing, then these people will employ the conversational tactic of trying to be right and trying to make me wrong so that their worldview doesn't have to be challenged. I'm not shaming anyone who's rolling like this because it's totally natural. I've done it a zillion times, I'm sure. So the new P communication strategy that I'm advocating we start to employ more and more is seek to understand. Instead of engaging a conversation where we're trying to be right, where we're trying to make the other person wrong, we seek to understand why the person thinks what they think, how they know what they know. Maybe they have information that we don't actually have. Maybe we don't know everything in the world. Maybe we can learn something. Personally, I find this to be a much more functional conversational strategy. It helps me grow as a person. It helps me be more compassionate and understand my shared humanity with others more and more and more. So here's the scenario that I manifested, which was unbelievably on the nose. I put out a video last week about why Adam Schiff is really pushing for impeachment and what's going on with 5G and China. And a friend of mine messaged me some links on Instagram that she said a mutual friend had asked her to send me, which was so weird because I was like, why are we triangulating? Are we six? Like, if she has some links to send me, why is she not just sending them to me? So I'd reached out to this mutual friend to say, hey, our friend sent me these links from you. I'm a little bit confused. I'm not really a fan of triangulation. Is there something you want to talk to me about? Let's dive in. This woman watched the video. I don't even know if she watched it in its entirety. And her response was to send my friend who had forwarded it to her links that appeared to counter the things that I was proposing in the video. They didn't, but that was the intention. So when I got in touch with the mutual friend who had sent the links to get to the bottom of it, because triangulation and gossip, they're just so damaging, and I honor my friendships and I honor relationships. So when that is happening, I seek to nip that in the bud ASAP and to just open the doors of communication and be like, hey, let's have this conversation between us instead of between our friends like we're in junior high so that we can honor our relatedness and strengthen our friendship. So what she said, which I found so interesting, was that she hadn't clicked through any of the links that I had curated in my video. And that was really the point. I said this multiple times. Look, if you're triggered, if any of these ideas are challenging your belief systems, I invite you to do your due diligence, to do your research, to click through these links that I'm taking the time to compile and educate yourself as to what I'm sharing. She didn't do any of that. Instead, she found other links to indicate that I was wrong. And again, the links were totally off topic, and to push the narrative that she has bought into, that she feels more comfortable with. What I find so bizarre about this is that she's a journalist. Her choice wasn't to educate herself deeper into what I was sharing. It was to show that I'm wrong by leaning on the knowledge that she thought she had. So it was the perfect example of someone, again, the goal being to prove that they're right and to make me wrong instead of to expand our knowledge, instead of to expand her knowledge base, instead of to expand her understanding of the issues. She didn't take any of those steps to do that and instead rushed to just make me wrong. This is the problem with our discourse right now. This is the issue. And this was the whole point of my video, was that your media is lying to you. Your beliefs and your ideas and your allegiances are based on lies. So why not avail yourself to a larger perspective on truth, to more information that you haven't yet had? And I put together all of the research for people. All it took was clicking and reading and listening. And yet this journalist, very established journalist who writes for, big papers and big magazines, didn't do any of that, but still rode this this agenda to make me wrong. Or, she herself, instead of taking the time to look into the links that I had shared, put in more time to find links based on a very cursory, shallow misunderstanding of what I was sharing to tell my friend that I was wrong. So again, not faulting this woman. I'm sure I've done it a zillion times myself. I'm inviting us to start to pay attention to when we're doing this. This is a practice that I've taken on myself. When I'm in heated conversations, and trust me, I get into them, and I'm a fiery gal. So, I know what it's like to have the heartbeat race and to feel like this person's an idiot and I know better. And so what I've started to do over the past few years is just check in with myself when I'm in these conversations. What is my intention right now? Is my intention to be right? Is my intention to make the other person wrong? And then that is a clue that I'm stuck in the old paradigm and that my ego is running the show. And then I adjust to avail myself to understanding where the other person is coming from so that I can learn, so that I can expand my perspective, so that I can expand my Venn diagram of human crossover and understanding with this other person and deepen our relatedness and deepen my understanding of how they are operating by availing myself to information that I don't already have. So all of this is to say, I'm inviting you and me and all of us to ditch the old P conversational tactic of trying to be right and trying to make someone else wrong, and to instead opt for the new P conversation tactic, which is seeking to understand and availing ourselves to ideas that we are not familiar with, that might rub up against belief systems that we have bought into. And it's not to say that we're necessarily going to embrace them, but how do we know whether there's any veracity, whether they ring true, if we don't even allow ourselves to let them in, to hear them, to read them? I mean, it's nuts. So thanks for paying attention. Thanks for remembering that everywhere matters, that you are omniscopic amazingness, and have a rockin' day. Mwah.